Hey YouTube, so in my last video I mentioned that I use some scripts to help me organize where all my photography files are, and I use some scripts to download things from cameras and cards and things, and a couple of people, I got some feedback that people would like more details on that. So that is the power of liking and subscribing and commenting on a video. Please like and subscribe if you are a Ubuntu user or photographer and want to move forward with that to see what I've got coming up, because it really encourages me to put in some more work and make some more videos. So sales pitch over. Get rid of that for now. So up until recently, about February, I had some root folders, like I'd put events somewhere, sports somewhere, clients somewhere, and it was pretty random. And I changed that focus. I now have everything in a directory called shoots off my home directory. And within that, I have some archives, but everything new that comes in here is like this. So it's today's date, and it might just be today's date, or it might be today's date and the label. But if we go through, into one of these, you'll see that pretty much everything in here has got a date on it. So it's fairly easy to organize and see that visually if I want to track down a NEF file. But what's even more important to me, and what used to drive me nuts, is where's that finished JPEG that I created from that shoot that I now want to share with somebody or post or something. So that's another problem that I've worked really hard to solve. And what I've ended up doing is I've created a script and a naming convention for folders so that I can use Shotwell, which is the Ubuntu default, to go into a specific directory, and in that directory is everything all my good JPEGs without duplicates, and these are my finished product. And the nice thing about Shotwell is you can drag and drop things either from there or from the you can drag and drop a thumbnail to a folder. It's a useful way to find a photo and then act on it. So let's see how I do that. There's really two parts of that trick. Part of that trick is that anything, for example, this folder has -no export as part of the folder name. Similarly, inside the way I organize each job that I do, there are folders in there that have that no export in there. So what I can do, therefore, let's see if you exported. I can create a script. Basically what this is doing is saying, here's the root directory of where all of my stuff is, and that's 1/2 terabyte of data, so that's a lot. The destination for the good stuff is pictures exports, and then this is the command that does the magic. Find everything in the root that is a JPEG. And I have a couple of things here that are specific to me. Like I had a bunch of embedded JPEGs for a while here, so I've written something specifically to skip that, and that is for backward compatibility, but bottom line is not the path, no exports, and copy them all to the destination. So that is a really cool thing. I'm doing a copy rather than an rsync, because copy with no clobber --n is super fast. It's basically saying if a name with the same file with the same name exists, then ignore it, which is a lot faster than what how rsync and sync does it. So that's how we do it. So this file, this script, is going through 1/2 terabyte and looking for new exported JPEGs, and there are none, or it would have told me. So that's the script I use to back up all my JPEGs. And the nice thing is, if I change the formula for that, all I've got to do is go to I can delete all of those files and just run that script again, and it'll find all the stuff that I want and put it back in there, and Shotwell will sort itself out. So I'm going to put these scripts, I'll put a link below to probably over to my blog where I'll list these scripts, but that is the first script that I find really useful. But let's look more at this shoots directory. So here we have, this is something that I'm going to work on today and was created today. After I finish working on this, I'll probably drag this to, that will be to an archive random. If it was something that I didn't care to end up in Shotwell, then it would go to archive random, no export. But let's talk about these. So if I go into one of these, most of these are of the formula, the date, and then a tag. Sometimes it's just the date. So I create these folders in one of two ways. I either run a script to create one, or I run a script that creates the folder and grabs everything from the camera, or I create a script from, I have a script that copies everything from a card to one of these. But at its simplest, config bin. This is in my path if you're a Linux person. Actually, this is a /G. This is a selective sync of part of my Google Drive where I keep executable scripts. So I run this on every single machine of mine. So it's kind of a poor man's repo. It's kind of a poor man's Git. It just automatically, I have the latest version of all of my scripts on all of my machines. Sometimes I have to chmod, make them executable, but it just really works really well. So I have a script here called kmakedir. So it's makedir, I am Keith Kiefer. So if I run kmakedir script, you can see it has created in shoots something of today's date, and it's pre-filled it with some folders that I use for my workflow. Likewise, if I do say kmakedir make tutorial, it'll create shoots date dash whatever I typed. So that's what keeps me honest here. That's why everything, pretty much everything here, unless I'm being super lazy, has a structure and is super clean. So let's just let's look at that. It's pretty straightforward. So you could take this script and make a directory called shoots in your home directory, and this would just totally work as long as you put this script somewhere, make it executable, and run it. This, to go a level deeper, that's actually a symlink to an external another drive, because my home is on a SSD drive, and I can't have all this stuff in the SSD drive. So that's a symlink, and actually on all my laptops, that's a symlink to a network drive which is in the same place. So all of these commands actually work on all of my machines and do the same thing, but are always acting on this desktop, which is effectively the server. So all it's doing is saying the destination for all of this stuff is shoots. That means home. So basically here. Build a date string. If I pass something, then the directory is going to be called the date string and what I passed. If I don't, it's just the date string, and then it runs a little script, different script, to actually create the directories. And I do that because, like I said, this might be created using this script. It might be created as I pull from a card, or it might be created as I pull from a camera. So that just keeps it a little bit tidier. I'm not copying the same code. If you're a coder, you know that if 3 different things are trying to do the same thing, exactly the same thing, then you bundle that same thing into something else so that you're not. So I hope that makes sense. Blah. You get it? Blah. But that is just doing That is just taking whatever the script passes it and actually making the directories. With a -p, it means it makes it, it can make it recursively. So it's just a good, probably don't need it here, but it's a good thing to do. Okay, so let's do that. So I just made this. Here's how I work when I'm actually working on a project. So we're now in this area. This is where my raw files live. This is where I put my raw files. When I'm working in Darktable, I have Darktable configured to export by default into exported. So I'd be working my raw files here, I'd be in Darktable, and I'd hit exported, and they would end up here. When I work on a file here and I get it to the point that it's a deliverable, then I move it to finals. Let's say I have a group of 5 people, 4 of them look awesome, 1 of them is blinking and has their eyes closed, but I have a better shot of that person, so I'll export the good one, I'll export my main image and that image that I'm going to clone from to right here. I'll create the image that I really want, I'll put that in finals, and then the other one that I cloned that one face of, I'll put in discards, and notice that that has the no export. So when the script ripples through this whole thing, that is not going to end up in my folder that that Shotwell looks at. So it's not going to end up in my kind of library. Inside finals, sometimes for a very specific reason, I will come in, I will load up these JPEGs in Darktable, put my watermark on them, and then exported a watermark version into this folder. And again, those are effectively duplicates, so I have the no export there so that those do not end up in Shotwell. So that's kind of a workflow strategy, or that's kind of the directory structure that I use. But what I like to do is, if that's all you did, I mean, if you could get that CP exported script running, and if you use the same naming convention where you have somewhere like shoots, if you just created home shoots and you put all your stuff in there, and anything that was kind of junky, you just put the no export on the end of the folder, then that could actually be quite useful to you. If you want to take it to the next level, here's what I do. Let me see, is our camera attached? No. I'll show you the script first. So I have the script called CPMedia. In Ubuntu, at least, when you connect a device like a camera, it's going to end up mounted here. Turn my camera on. So there is my Nikon. There's the DCIM folder. So basically the script is saying anything that matches that's what the star is on the end. So anything that matches that, then consider that the source for photos. The destination is my shoots directory again. It's going through the same kind of thing about making the folder. So either make a folder with today's date or make a folder with today's date that has got the tag appended to it that I type in, and I'll show you that in a sec. Make the same directories, then find everything here that is an NEF file and move it to shoots, and find anything that is I sometimes use Fuji, so I do that too. Now I could probably do both of these on one line. I could definitely do both of these on one line, but I don't. And here's what's really nice about moving files, is it's a built-in disaster recovery. So if this starts, there's 1,000 files in the camera, it dies after half of them, you just run it again, it's already moved half of them, not copied them, so it knows, it just keeps moving the ones that are left. So it's so much nicer than pulling up a folder and doing a copy. Are there any files on here actually? than, you know, coming in here and doing a copy. There's no files on there right now. So it just kind of works. So let's see if I can actually demonstrate that without it. So I'm going to disconnect the camera. I'm going to take a few shots. Connect the camera, switch it on. And hopefully nothing else is hogging that connection. If I type CPMedia, that, it's totally working. So it created the folder and it started moving the files into the folder from the camera. And it's created the exported directory. It's created all the directories that I might use moving forward. And then I have exactly the same thing. I have a different script that looks for memory cards, so SD cards, which will end up in /media/ whatever your username is. And I'm finding all of the RAF and NEF files on there. I'm excluding this personally because I have a backup drive called backup1 mounted there, and if I didn't put this, then it would copy every single JPEG or every single RAF or NEF it could find on my backup, which is terabytes, and copy it to that directory too. So I don't want to do that. Now I don't use this one a lot. Even though it's slightly slower copying from camera, I really like it because I don't, well, I have an Icon D3S, so I'm talking compact flash cards. I don't want to bend my pins, and I don't want to leave without a card. That's the biggest nightmare, is showing up for a job and having no card. So I usually just plug the camera in and go from there. But we see that totally worked. So let's fully dark table it. Hang on. Let's work with Darktable. If I go to that folder, I've got shoots, I've got, what did I call it? File examples, open. So that's what I was shooting. I have a mannequin that I use for testing lighting and testing shots a lot, and that's what my camera was pointed at when I took that burst of shots. So let's say I want to export those. Oh, this is very cramped because I don't want to record the whole screen. So I'm exporting for print. Click export. It's exporting those 6 images to, get that out of the way. It's putting those in here. And here I will work on things until they're good. Let's just pretend I've worked on those. 6, that's 6. So I've worked on these in GIMP, Portrait Pro, whatever. I move them to finals. And this is where I might, like, if I'm just delivering these are print res, I might just deliver them. I might also, let me see what's the easiest way to get here. Shoots, example. So here's something else I do. I'm in finals now. Here's another script. Web resize. That will now create a smaller version of all of these files. You see that's gone from 11 megabytes to web sensible size. So that's another script. That script is pretty straightforward too. So it's basically matching all the files. If I could have said, say there was a mixture of files in here, I could have said web resize space print, and it would have just matched the ones starting with the word print, and created 2500 pixel on its widest at 85%, so like a good web ready. And then I could, how long is this? 20 minutes. Gotta make these shorter. And then I could, if I wanted to, open those up, and selected the web ones, which is the only ones I ever watermark, and added a watermark, and then exported those with one of these settings so that it automatically goes into watermarked export, watermark dash no export. So that's kind of it. So my goal was to have super organized things that are in progress. After these are done, move them to super organized archives, some of which I care about long term and some of which I don't. I wanted to be able to use Shotwell or something similar. I chose Shotwell. I wanted to be able to use that so that I could get all of my good photos into a way that is very easy to navigate and very easy to find, and easy for me to just dig through and just keep track of stuff and be able to drag and drop out into other folders. So that is my strategy. I'm going to share the files on blur.bz. I'll put a link below. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link below to that. I hope this is of use. If it is, please comment, please like, please subscribe, because I'm going to be doing more. The next thing I will do is, and here's a sneak peek. Let me see. Let's do it right. Make directory tether. So that's just created another directory called tether. I'm going to go into that cd and this may or may not work because I never tether from this machine. I'm going to type ktether, and did it work or did it not work? It worked. So that is just tethered and download the file to the folder that I'm in. The viewer did not work. I may have broken something because I actually simplified all these scripts before I did this and made them much more generic. So I've broken something there with my tethering. But as you can see, I have a script that uses some libraries just to tether straight into whatever directory I want. And I'm using Eye of Gnome. Why is that not working? It's not working because I always do this on a laptop. I'm usually tethered to the laptop, and the laptop is pushing to this directory. So that part of my script's broken. But I will, if you want, do a video on that. So let me know in the comments. That's all I got today. Have a good one. Bye.